Hello everyone. In this tutorial, we will be discussing about the HP new Idle on-demand API. In this tutorial, we will focus mainly on three API. First, Find Similar API. Second, OCR Document API. And lastly, Sentiment Analysis API. I will show how to use these API in Java language and implement simple functions using this in Java. So, let's get started. Before we move further and discuss more on programming side of Idle API, I believe it's a good idea to take a small tour of HP Idle on Demand. For those who have already signed up for an Idle account, may skip this and can directly jump to programming in Idle API. Whenever you first visit the Idle web page, you are required to sign up. Sign up button is located at top right. It will ask you to fill few details. Okay, once sign up is done, next, you will log in by clicking on Login button. Since I already signed up, I will directly jump to login. There are various login options for you, like Google, Yahoo, Facebook, Twitter. I have my Google account linked with Idle, so I will click on Google and will proceed to next. Once you log into your account, you should click on Get an API key. You need this API key for your account. It's a token which is required while calling any API. You can manage your account by clicking on Account tab at top right. You can see various options. You can manage your API key, check your usage for any particular API key, and many more. Let's try one of them. Okay, let's click on Create and manage your own text indexes. Wait, meanwhile, it gets loaded. Okay, as you can see, I have one text index, which I created, named as Cancer Prevention. You can get further details on your particular text index by clicking against the name of your text index. Lastly, now, we will have a quick look at API page before moving on to programming for Idle API. Okay, so, from this API page, we can see all the APIs available in Idle. There are a lot of useful APIs. Let's examine one of these API. Let's go to OCR Document API. This is an overview page of OCR API, which is giving us all the necessary information about this API. Now, let's move to Request tab. This page is giving us the information, which we need to send during our post REST call, while calling this API. Remember, this is the URL which we need to pass to call this API. You can choose either of the asynchronous or synchronous, depending on your application. Now, let's move to Response tab. As you can see, the response, which we get from this API, will be our nice formatted friend JSON. You can see the exact structure by scrolling down. So, this winds up our small tour of Idle on Demand API. Now, we will look into the programming aspect of Idle API. So, let's go ahead. I will be showing this tutorial in Eclipse. However, you can use any Java IDE such as NetBeans etc. Before we start writing our Java code, it is important to import all jars from lib folder inside, http components, client, 4.3.4, bin.tar. You will easily find this tar online. It is free. You will find all these jars and you need to include them all. They are required in our post method call to Idle API. In Eclipse, you can include these jars by going to project's build path and after that going to add external archives. Now, let's proceed. Once these jars are included, we can now go ahead in our code. Let's first look at common part of code and after that, we will look into specific APIs. I have initialized API to my API key. Inside this, you should put your API key of Idle account, which has already been discussed in our tour to Idle part of this video. Also, we have defined URL1, URL2 and URL3 for Find Similar, OCR and Analyze Sentient respectively. Okay, now let's take a closer look into our Client1 class. Inside this class, we have made one public method run, which is accessed by driver class. Run method takes two arguments, first one is URL of the API, which we are calling and second is the list of key value pair of arguments, which we are sending to the API. In run method, we are using HTTP client post API. Java has other ways of calling post method, but to me, this seems to be the most stable. Anyway, let's not go into debate on this. First, we create closable HTTP client variable, HTTP client, and assigned value of HTTP clients.createDefault. This is the default and is required to establish connection. I won't go into implementation details of HTTP clients API. If you want to know more, you can always read from its documentation. Now, inside our try block, we are creating an instance of HTTP post, by passing the URL address of our called API. After this, we are using setEntity, for encoding in UTF-8. OK, now we are executing the request, by calling HTTP client.execute and passing HTTP post. We are storing the response in closable HTTP response. You can see the status of post API, by calling response.getStatusLine. Finally, we are fetching the results from our response using getEntity method, and storing this result in HTTP entity class variable. Lastly, we are checking the length of extracted content by using getContentLength method of HTTP entity class. If length is not equal to -1, we are converting the result into human readable string, using toString method. Otherwise, if length is equal to -1, we are not doing anything. At last, we are returning our final string result, which is there inside body variable. It is most important that you close all the connections which you have opened. As you can see in my finally part of code, I have closed entity, response and HTTP client connections, by calling entity utils.consume, close and close methods respectively. This sums up what all we have inside out client1 class. Now, let's move again to driver class. Inside driver class, we have main method. Apart from it, we have find similar method, OCR Document method and analyze sentiment method. Let's move to main. Inside main, we have made a menu-driven program, in which we have taken user input through scanner. If user enters 1, we are calling find similar. If user enters 2, we are calling OCR Document method. If user enters 3, we are calling analyze sentiment, and otherwise printing wrong choice. I hope till now everything seems simple. Let's move on. OK, so till now we have covered the general part for all API. Now, let's talk about one API at a time. Our first goal here is to execute a find similar idle on-demand API call from Wikipedia on the phrase hello world and display the text from the Wikipedia article. Find similar API is helpful in finding documents that are conceptually similar to your text or a document. The find similar API returns documents in the idle on-demand databases that are similar to text or a document that you provide. You can either submit text, an index reference, a file, an object store reference, or a URL. I have talked about index reference and object store reference in my another video on index in HP idle. In this tutorial, let's focus mainly on text and file. Let's look at find similar method. Here we are adding 3 parameters to our key value list. First one is text with value hello world. This is required in our goal. It is this text for which we will get content. Second key is indexes with its value as wiki_eng. This will search the conceptual content inside Wiki English index only. The last key is API key with value equal to your API key. This key value pair will always be there whenever you call any idle API. You can send other additional parameters also. For instance, the above call will print only specific information. If suppose you want to print all information including content of return documents, you can use key value pair of print all, with key as print and value as all respectively. We will get string as return value when run method is called. OK, here I am using simple JSON jar to convert string into JSON. You can use any of the JSON jars and include that into Eclipse by following build path and add external archives, which is discussed earlier. JSON object class will take string as input and convert into JSON object. OK, now we want only the JSON object document field, which we will receive using JSON object get method, by passing key parameter, which is document in this case. Now, we have converted this into JSON array, using JSON array. You can print each document by traversing the entire loop, and printing each document, one by one. These resultant documents are the ones, which are conceptually similar to hello world. Let's see main function. Inside main, we are calling find similar method. So the stack will be, first main, then find similar and after that run method. OK, now let's run this program and see the output. Our next goal is to execute an OCR document API call for an image file, and display the extracted text from the image. OCR Document API extracts the text from an image. Let's look at OCR Document method. Here we are adding 3 parameters to our key value list. First one is mode with value document_photo. This will tell the API about the kind of image and is effective in getting the better output. Second key is URL with its value as address of the image. It is this image, out of which text will be fetched. The last key is API key with value equal to your API key. This key value pair will always be there whenever you call any idle API. You can send other additional parameters also. We will get string as return value when run method is called. JSON object class will take string as input and convert into JSON object. Finally, we are printing JSON object value in main. Here the call stack is, first main, then OCR document and after that run method. Okay, now let's run this program and see the output. First, I will show you the image, and after that output of OCR document. As you can see from the image, it is a document image and that is why I put mode as document photo. Now let's run this program. Let's move on. Okay, so this is our last goal here, which is to execute a sentiment analysis API call with the text from the hello world response which we have computed above, and will display the sentiment score along with the sentiment rating, positive, negative, or neutral. Analyze Sentiments API analyzes text for positive and negative sentiments. In this goal, first we need to call find similar and then, we will use analyze sentiments on any of the document returned from find similar method. In this, I randomly picked up second element, if the number of documents returned is greater than 1, else if number of documents returned is 1, I will examine first element, and if no document is returned from find similar, then we will print sorry. Now, let's look at analyze sentiments method. Analyze sentiment method takes string as an argument, which is the URL of content, for which we will do sentiment analysis. Here, first we have called find similar method with text as hello world. Now, we fetch the document key value from returned output. If the length of document is 0, we are printing sorry message. Here, we have analyzed the length of docs and appropriately sets value to our variable named output1. Okay, now our data is ready. Inside analyze sentiments method, we are adding 3 parameters to our key value list. First one is language with value ng. This will tell the API about the language of the content. Second key is URL with its value as address of the content. It is this content for which the analysis will be carried. The last key is API key with value equal to your API key. This key value pair will always be there whenever you call any idle API. You can send other additional parameters also. We will get string as return value when run method is called on these parameters. It is important to note here, we can also send content of URL by using key as text and value as content from find similar method. Analyze sentiments API actually returns its result for all lines separately. The final result is categorically divided into positive, negative and neutral, returning mean score and sentiment for every line in content. At the same time, it also returns aggregate of sentiments and mean score. Here we are printing only aggregate result. Let's see main function. Inside main, we are calling analyze sentiments method. Analyze sentiment further calls find similar method. So the stack will be, first main, then analyze sentiments. After that find similar and after that run method. Finally again run method, but this run method is called from analyze sentiments. Okay, this is getting a bit longer. Now let's run this program and see the Congratulations. I hope you must have enjoyed this video tutorial, which is termed as Hello World for HP Idle API. For more information, you can always go to API page, and can explore more from there. Also, later if you have any doubts, post on discussion forums. My personal experience at discussion forum at HP Idle is pretty good. The reply is also pretty fast. Congratulations again for completing this video tutorial. Thanks for watching.